We're going to go through a few things today to finish off this assignment. So that includes a couple of fun things. So we'll have a look at stairs. Actually, I might look at stories first. I know I've shown a lot of you how the stories work, but we'll just do it in a bit more of a formal sense. So yeah, we'll look at there's a stair maker in there that can make all sorts of crazy shaped stairs, and it does 90% of the work for you. Dimensioning. Then we'll look at how we lay this all out. So we can actually lay out your entire assignment now, even though you haven't finished. So including even the renders and your sections and detail. Well, details might be a little bit tricky if you've actually got nothing to detail, but we could at least get it on the page. What else are we doing? And then yeah, a little bit more fun. We'll do a sun study in the fly-through, and they are surprisingly easy, actually. All right, so first thing is, what did I say? Stories. So currently, and I think a lot of you I've said to you, just don't worry about the upstairs. I'll show you on Monday how to do the stories. Other people I've shown how to do the stories. A few of you probably learnt from your mates how to do stories. So we'll do it in a formal sense. So first thing is, we're going to have some walls, right? So you've probably got some walls. So here's a 3-meter wall, right? So you guys have got something that doesn't look much like this actually at all. So the easiest way to make a second floor is to do exactly that. We just pop over to here. It says stories, ground floor. I'm just going to go into the settings for the stories. So if you've got one of these highlighted, you'll see the settings brings up the stories. And you do the height to the next. You can change this whenever you like, which is quite convenient. We have got a C level. That, in this case, doesn't really matter because we're not really thinking about it. But, for example, we could, if we were like really concentrating on that last assignment, if we were really concentrating on the sports field, and that was really important to us, what we could have done is we could have said, okay, well, sea level is at 0, and then our sports field is at 15 metres. So we could have said that the next floor starts at 15 metres. That means that when you go and put things onto the sports field, there's two sets of numbers. There's the height to that story, and there's height to ground, well, project 0, which in that case would have been sea level. Okay, so that it's just a nice, convenient way of doing it. In that case, we had lots of levels, so there wasn't much point. But you could work like that, and so then you've got your heights on your contours are on one story, and your project 0 on your site is at another level. So, which we could quite easily do for this project, but we're not using contours for this. It's kind of pointless because even the contours that we got off any aerial photo are going to be so horribly inaccurate. You'd be better off just eyeballing where the ground meets the building. You'll be a hell of a lot more accurate doing that than using the contours. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to say it's 3 metres to the roof. So I'm going to insert. Not insert below. Sorry, delete that one. Insert above, and I call this second floor. You can call it what you like. Oops. Second floor. Okay, and that goes from 3, and it's also another 3 metres to the roof. Okay, so now I've got ground floor, second floor, and roof. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is if I want to build a second floor, all I'm going to do is select all this, go Command C for copy, go up to the second floor and go Command V for paste. And I can click outside here, or I can hit the OK button or do whatever I like. And if I have a look now, I've got 1, 2. Isn't that lovely? That was nice and easy. Now, the big advantage to doing this over just having a 6-metre high wall is things like windows, especially windows, and anything that was relevant to that second floor. So in our case, not a huge amount because we're not putting chairs and furniture onto the second floor. But certainly windows, it's much, much easier doing it now because I can just go and put a window on the second floor and I don't see it on the ground floor. Okay, if I had 6-metre windows, I'd have windows on top of windows in plan, and it would be difficult to deal with. Also, the shape upstairs is slightly different to the shape downstairs. I don't want to see what's on the second floor on my plans of my courtyard. So if I've only got one floor, I'm going to see everything that's on the second floor as well, and the roofs for that matter. Yeah, and so I don't want to see that. I want to be able to switch off the second floor and the roofs and all that sort of carry on, and just have what's adjacent to my courtyard. Okay, so now we've got windows upstairs and downstairs, and they're not lined up. I can, of course, if I went to the second floor, right? Actually, I'm just going to delete this whole wall, right? I'm just going to do it again. So, if you're doing windows, of course, a very easy way of putting in a whole bunch of windows, Command U, or was it Edit, Move? Do I have to do that? Not really, eh? Edit, Move, Multiply. I want 8 windows. The spread, oh sorry, actually let's do a spread. I want a window every 1500. Cool, okay. Sweet, so I can take that entire, go Command C, copy, take the entire wall and paste it upstairs. Cool. It also means that I can go in here and delete the odd one. And it's easy to tell what's happening. All right. Roofs are a little bit different. Not immensely different, but a little bit different. So, in your guys' cases, most of the time you're just going to be doing just a straight roof. In this case, I'm going to put on the second floor, right? Now, again, I've got these numbers up here. So if I have a look in, oh, so this is for the wall, but anyway, you can see that to current story is 0, to project 0 is 3 metres, because we're on the second floor. Okay, so I can either set a wall at 0 on that story, which would mean it's 3 metres above project 0, or I could say this is 3 metres above project 0. It totally depends on what you're working on. If it's like a light fitting on the wall, you know, you could say, well, that's 5 metres up from the ground, which would be quite logical. You know, because you wouldn't really go, well, actually, it's 2 metres from the second floor, level of the second floor inside the building. It's completely illogical. You know, so, anyway, enough about that. So this wall's 3 metres high. So you'll actually notice in here, these numbers are a little bit different. That's saying it goes from 3 metres to 6 metres. Okay, so that's project 0, which is kind of what you guys are used to anyway. So, it means I need a roof at 6 metres. I'll get my roof tool. I'm going to set this, the height at 6 metres, and I'm going to draw that. That's my reference line, slopes up in that direction. Cool, and there's my roof. Oh, needs a little bit more angle than 0. Now, you'll notice that by default the roof appears on every single story, which isn't all that cool. Really, what I want, now if I bring up the settings, and you'll see these settings everywhere now, it's got a home story, okay, so that's the story that it actually lives on. And so at the moment, that's actually on the second floor. So what I can say is, no, I want you to actually live on the roof story. If I go OK, you'll notice a couple of things change. For one, oh, sorry, hang on, if I go up to the roof now. For one, if I select this roof, it says that the current storage is 0 and it's 6 metres up. This is actually why the default setting for the roof is 0 for its height, which never really made sense to me even for a long time. But it's because if you go into the roof story and you go and draw the roofs in, they would be at the correct height. So, which makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? The other thing you'll see, again you'll see this all over the show, see it says here show on stories, and it says all stories. If we don't want it to show on all the stories, we could say all relevant, home story only, so that we only see roofs on the roof story, which means we won't see it anywhere. We could say on the home story and one story down, which would kind of make sense. So that means if I was on the second floor, I'd see the outline of the roof, but if I go to the ground floor, I don't. Cool. And we can do this for pretty much anything, actually. So if I grab a slab, right, if you go to its settings, okay, so here's its home story. So that's the story that I drew it on. And you can see here, show on stories, home story only. If you click on that, you can see a whole bunch of other stuff. So I can say all stories, and that means that it'll be appearing on the second floor as well. Cool? So it's quite convenient. So there might be certain things that you want to see on all the stories, so other things you don't. All right. Is there much more to talk about stories? Oh, there's also another setting that says all relevant stories. So if I made a wall, right, so like this building here is actually quite a lot taller than the rest of the building, so it would actually stick up into the second floor. So what I could say is, let's say, okay, this wall is 5 meters high. I'm going to draw it in here, right? So currently, if I go to the second floor, it disappears because its default setting is home story only, which usually makes a lot of sense. If we click in here, it says all relevant stories, which means that now if I go upstairs, we still see it. But if I go up to the roof, oh, we see an outline. That's interesting. I wouldn't have expected to see it at all. But you can see it's still solid. All right. Another thing. Let's say, right, I've got a whole bunch of stuff downstairs. I don't want them on the second floor. I don't want to see them on the second floor. But I kind of want to just, like, peer downstairs just briefly. There's a little palette in here called, there's two things you have to do actually. A little palette in here called Trace and Reference. Cool. And that button there, which is actually the same as this button here, see it says Trace. When you switch that on, you can actually see what's downstairs, which is pretty cool. So you can actually say, you know, I want the original colours, or I want it to be green. Okay, so anything that's downstairs, so you can see the windows that are downstairs now. They're highlighted as green. So they're not actually on the story. They're not technically visible on the story. But I can just switch that on and off. This is really convenient when you've got things that you want to snap to that's downstairs. So, like, for example, upstairs there's a whole bunch of walls. Downstairs there's a whole bunch of walls here, right? But upstairs it's slightly different. So a direct copy and paste might not really help you. You know, so what you could do is you just put the trace on. You can see where all the walls are, and you can snap to them as well. So if I had to put something else up here, I can snap to these objects. Now, another cool thing is, check this out. Let's say I had a fill, right? Because I wanted for some reason to have this big solid fill over this courtyard. Oops. Now, the problem is I can't see those things that I just was showing because my fill goes over it, and I don't really want to change it to be transparent just so I can see downstairs. So, see this little button here? This creates these little icons in the corner, and what I can do is grab one of those and I can peer downstairs. So I'm actually peeling away the story that I'm on and looking at what's downstairs, which is pretty convenient, especially because if I've got things like stacked on top of each other, these windows might be slightly different to the windows that are downstairs. And so I can actually just grab this and just peel it away and have a look. Oh, yeah, that's what the differences are. So I can see the entire downstairs floor. In fact, if I made that original colours, see, I can actually peer completely underneath. So I can change the opacity as well. So this is now, it's actually showing me both floors completely solid. I can peel away the top floor and reveal the bottom floor. So you can see that window there isn't there. So this thing's quite convenient. It used to always be this colour, but I think since they've changed the background colour to yellow, it's almost impossible to see. You can also flick between the two, but that just gets a bit confusing. All right. Is that cool? So there's some pretty cool tools there to use. All right. Actually, I'll say one thing. See, this is actually especially in the next assignment when we do this, the Imagine Cities, like quite often we'll just create lots of stories because you've got high-rise buildings. So it's quite nice to be able to, you just get like a whole bunch of blocks, paste them down, then you copy a select few of them and then paste them, select a few of those and paste them, and select a few of those and paste them. You end up with big towers and stuff, all different sizes. Sometimes what's quite convenient, especially if you've got lots of stories, is that you can say view the previous story. So that means if I go to the roof and then to the ground floor, when I peel this back and forth, I'll be seeing the roof, which is just that little line. And so I can go up to the ground, so I'm up the roof now, but I'm seeing the ground floor. So, whatever the previous story that I looked at. So you can compare like the second floor to the 120th floor. That sort of thing. But yeah, if that's on, sometimes I know it's definitely got me before. I get a little bit confused and it's like, what the hell's going on? Why is it changing all the time? Then I realise I've got it on previous story. So usually just go this story below. So you can say the ground floor, which would be quite convenient for you guys, because then you could go to any floor and you'd always be comparing it to the ground floor. All right, enough of that. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? Okay, so stairs, I think, isn't it? Okay, so let's have a little look at stairs. So there's a stair tool on here. I think some of you found this in the first assignment, actually. And it's basically like an object. So you can grab some different stairs. There's round stairs, straight stairs, steel stairs, etc., etc. There's like landings and things in here as well. So you can construct stairs out of these. L shape. What's the difference? No idea what the difference between those two are, except for the materials they're made out of. Anyway, and you can put in the dimensions. So I can say, okay, I want it to be 10 metres by 2.5 metres, and it's going to do the whole thing. What the height of it is, I want to go up 6 metres. Cool. Okay, and click, and it drops them in there. I can also, of course, click and rotate. So I can say like that. You can also change the point at which you're orientating it. So if I want to drop that corner, that means I can drop that into this corner here, rotate it up like that, and there's my stairs. Oops, on the wrong floor, of course. Because I was on the roof, I should have been on the ground. And the height will be 0 to the home story, which is also the same as project 0. Okay, there we go. All right, so there's some stairs. Oops, I've kind of embedded it in my wall by accident. Which is because I snapped to the wrong point. Oh, go down to the ground floor zone. Let's just drag this whole thing out. All right. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Seems to have cached the... I've got to turn that trace off. All right. Okay, and there's lots of things you can change in there. I'll let you play around with it. It's pretty logical. How it looks. Actually, there's a very cool thing in here, which used to be on by default, and I don't actually even know where the setting's gone. See, if I go upstairs, it looks just the same. Okay, so... However, if I go into the settings, I can actually tell it that under 2D representation, or 2D symbol, there's an option in here called story sensitive. And if you turn that on, that's what it looks like on the ground floor, but when you go to the second floor, it looks like that. So it just shows where the stairs have come up into the second floor, which is pretty cool. There's all sorts of settings in there for how it looks. So if you use this one here, you only see that part of it downstairs. You can actually extend this out somehow. No, it's not going to let me. No, there is a way of moving that line somehow, but I don't know how. I know how to do it in the other view. Anyway. And so now if I go up to the second floor, I see the other half of the stairs. So there's that half and there's that half. Cool. Of course, there's things like railings and line types and symbols and blah, 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 etc., etc. Lots of etc., etceteras, fonts, rise and blah, blah, blah. Show rail on floor plan. Yes, please. Show whatever. Somewhere in there you'll actually see the rails and the textures. So we can say, oh, I like wired ones, thanks. Actually, I think you can specify, that's the right rail, and then there's the left rail. So on the left side on this I might just have a simple bar because it's up against the walls. Cool, so there's my simple bar on one side and my wired rail on the other. Isn't that lovely, eh? Alright, so as I said, it's pretty much just like any other object. However, there is another really, really cool way of making stairs. And what you do, I'm just going to do this off to the side, is you draw a fill for the area that you want the stairs to fill. Right? So I'm just going to kind of start off quite wide. I'm going to just add a shape to this. Something like that. Cool. Maybe this. Actually, I'll add another shape. Come on, give me 45. Okay, kind of a weird, wacky shape. Actually, I might just pull these corners out a bit. In fact, I'm going to round these off with a 2-meter radius. And this one. Alright, so that's the shape of my stairs in plan. I don't know if I'm rounding these off is a good idea or not, but we'll find out. The next thing I have to do is just draw a line. It has to be a line, not a polyline or a spline or anything like that. It has to be a line. I'm going to have a few different angles running through here. And it's the direction, like it's normal to the direction of the stairs. So 90 degrees, so the direction the stairs are going. So I'm going to say that these stairs kind of go in this direction. Then they're going to go at a bit of a funny angle, and then they're going to square up to the bottom. Okay? So a fill and a line. I'll just turn my groups on just so I can select that line in one foul swoop. You select the both together. So the fill and the line, and we go design, create stair using selection. That pops up, and you go, yep, whatever's okay. And now we can put in our height. I'm just going to go straight with the default settings and just go, okay. It'll embed this library. Actually, I'll show you how to export this embedded libraries as well. So there's my stair called Stair 1. Save. And now I just drop it down just by clicking somewhere. For some reason it's gone off the stair tool. It doesn't quite line up. That's because it's... I'll just drag that puppy. Oh, it doesn't have to be on top of itself anyway. You can do whatever you like with it, really. Oh, I've got it going around. I actually imagined it going the other way, but anyway. And if we have a look over here somewhere, here it is. Check it out. So it's like a full-on custom stair in a crazy shape with curves and rails and everything. Now, how do I edit this stair? Good question. If we want to edit this stair, you'll notice that when I select it, see up here it says Edit Stair. I can just click on that and we get back to that menu again. And so from there I can say, oh, this button here actually reverses the direction, so I start from the bottom and go that way. This thing here, that's that line that we saw, that separates downstairs from upstairs. So now I'd say that downstairs and that would be upstairs. We can change the height. Anything that's locked means you can't change it. And so with the custom stairs, usually you find a lot of things are locked. So I can say, well, actually, it needs to be 4 meters. the 2 times riser plus run should be in the range of 600 to 923. So that's to try and make stairs that actually work. Okay, so you will quite easily make stairs that just don't work. And, you know, if you're trying to, you know, squeeze a stair in that goes from there to there and goes up 5 meters, obviously that's not going to work. So that's a kind of an extreme example. But that's basically what I've done. I've tried to go up too high, and now my stairs don't really work. So I could sit here and fiddle and fiddle and fiddle until eventually I get it to work. So for some reason, this is saying that 2 times the riser, so that's, I'm assuming, from the base of one step to the top of the next step, plus that, or if you like, from there to there, for some reason, that distance needs to be 923. So it has to be less than that. So how do I get around this? I could try and adjust the number of stairs. So let's say if we said 16 stairs, can I get it up to 4 meters now? No, still not working. Because it doesn't matter how many stairs I have, that number's still not going to change, is it? I could try and increase this number. I don't know if it will let me or not. Can I now get that up to 4 meters? Yeah, and now you can see this through here. I think, what's a natural step? It's like a riser of about 300 or something, isn't it? 15? 150? Something like that, eh? So you can see that at the moment we've got almost 300, so it's quite a steep stair to get up. So obviously I should really make these stairs longer. But anyway, let's go with it anyway. Oh, sorry, I was actually also going to change, was the railing. So in this you can actually select different parts, which is pretty cool. So I can actually say, that there I want to be wooden, that there I want to be wooden. Yeah. This piece here I want to be twisted, and this piece here I want to be twisted as well. Cool. I think you could even move the rails here, where the points are somehow. No, it's not going to let me. That is a bit of a stubborn thing. Oh, there you go. You can change all sorts of things, modify the location of each of the battens and blah, 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 blah. You can adjust the dimensions of the stair and what the overhangs are and blah, 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 blah. You can do this sort of thing. So you can make quite a modern stair. I've done this a few times where you you do that and then somehow you get these two pieces really close together by stretching it somehow. But anyway, that's how we go with that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Okay. Hit F3. Alright, now we've got something that looks a little more interesting, isn't it? So you can see they're pretty frigging steep. In fact, that doesn't even make much sense. That looks lethal, doesn't it? So as you can see, the stairs that I'm building, I'm trying to just go up too high, and the whole thing's starting to fall apart a bit. Cool. They also need a few extra little features by the look of it. Some rails down here would have been good. Anyway, but that's the stair maker. Pretty cool? All right. How are we doing for time? Not too bad, actually. Okay, let's have a look at dimensioning. Dimensioning is pretty easy. Okay, and again, a few of you already found this because I saw it in your assignments, which I didn't ask for, but that's cool. So the basic dimensioning tool works like this. By default, it's on this little guy here, which means that what I can do is I can race around my set and just click on a few things. If I double click, this little hammer comes out. Click again, I get my dimensions. This is when you want to, or wish that you're drawn really accurately, because otherwise you get funny numbers coming out. Like, eh. However, there is a way around this, because let's say if I went and put an extra 11 millimeters on this, actually, would be quite nice. We'll go D11. There we go, 900. So all I did, when I put those dimensions on, they locked to the object. So when you adjust the object, you adjust the dimension, which is incredibly convenient. See, if I move this around, all the dimensions change. Okay, so you can see, oh yeah, well, if I move this in this direction 7 millimeters, cool, now it's a nice number. Excellent. Make this another 3 millimeters wider. Cool, now I've got nice numbers. So it's better to fudge the object. That you can overwrite the number. So, but, you know, warning, it's not probably a cool idea. If you select one of these numbers, you can actually go in here and it says somewhere static dimension. You click that in, and now you can go. No, it's not going to let me anyway. Oh, there you go, measured, sorry, custom text. 1300. Okay, but it's a lie.
Can you change that box text and it'll actually change the shape rather than vice versa?
No. No, it doesn't work the other way. It's telling me a lie. It's not 1300, it's 1200. Not a good idea. Yeah. You could fudge it, I mean, under some situation, but I'm not responsible.
If you change the object again, what happens?
Nothing. It should, because that's because it's no longer attached to it. It was a static dimension. Actually, that's a good point though, because can I keep undoing? If I select that number and override it to say 1200. Oops. So now it's not a static dimension. It still says 1200. Cool. Actually, yeah, I didn't have to make it a static. Sorry. But now, there's one little trick that you have to make sure that it happens. Notice, see I get like a little circle? If I miss something, I get a square. Okay? So when something's snapped to another object, you get a circle. If it's not, it's a square. So if you accidentally missed, which is pretty hard to do actually, okay, and you think you got it, if you see a square, it's like, oh, warning, you missed, and it's no longer snapped to it. All right, the other one that can get you is, let's say I was doing it, this is a little bit over-exaggerated. I wanted to do the distance from there to there. The way that this works is that when I move that hammer around, see how it's like doing the different things? So that would be the height difference. But notice, see it's on a funny angle there? It's pretty hard to see. If I did that, okay, now I've over-exaggerated it a little bit. That's going to be quite a different number because it's measuring on a bit of an angle. So just make sure that you are getting, you know, the right angle. And it is quite easy to do. You go, click, 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 yeah. Yeah, and you accidentally, it's not going to let me do it now anyway. Oh, they changed it. Oh, anyway. See, my lie shows up now. Sorry?
Do they show up on the plane, or are they just for dimension, just for creation?
Yeah, they'll show up on the plan view, yeah. It's just on its own layer and everything. So you can see by default these are on dock floor, which isn't that cool. So if we go dimension, select all, let's create a layer first called dims. Okay. All my dims are on the dims layer, cool. Excellent. So I can just switch those on and off how I need them. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about the saving views and the layouts later as well. Okay, so much more to say about that? Not really. There are a few little cool things. So, for example, if we've got an arc, there is a tool for measuring the distance around that arc. And it works pretty much the same way. So I can see that's 1.302 millimeters. There's also a mode. This here is kind of a safe version of what we just saw before. So it won't let me do one on an angle. See that? It only does the vertical or the horizontal. Okay, so, but I mean, in some cases you might actually want to measure the distance between that corner and that corner, or a line that's on an angle, so that wouldn't help you out very much. Then you've got, lots of different ways of doing the witness lines and that sort of carry on. So you can have it going all the way down like that. How the distances look, what the markers look like, etc., etc. Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. So these witness lines come down further. Quite often you see the witness lines where they're just tiny little, where it just actually looks like that. Totally depends on your drawing, really, and what it looks like. This is a little bit of an odd one to use in this case because it's sort of like saying, go 1200 to there and then another 2 and then that and then that and then that, which in this case doesn't really make much sense. Anything else? Oh, there should be line types in there and all that sort of carry on. Here's all the line types. What pens it uses. How the text is aligned. Actually, that's a good point. There's one in here that's kind of interesting. If you've got like an angled distance, right? Come on. What's going on here? Oh. One like that. There is actually the option, if it's in line, see this? That's when that highlights, so you can actually have an angled dimension but showing horizontally. Etc. All right. Oh, actually, there is another thing I should show. This one here, which makes absolutely no sense in plan. However, in cross-section, actually, we'll just use one of these elevations that are sitting here. It makes complete sense. So let's say I wanted to look at this. I can go to my my heights here, and just actually go click, click, click. Oops, obviously my scale's quite wrong at this size, 120. Okay, and it's actually got the heights of those stairs. You probably find actually that that one's a bit weird. Let me get rid of them. That's a bit weird. I prefer this one here where it's just single heights. So you can actually just click on the heights and get the heights straight there. Yeah. Etc., etc. There's my 6 meters. Yeah, there's my ground floor. Blah, blah, blah. So you can just, wherever you click, it's going to tell you what the height is at that point. Notice as well, it should have, there's the second floor, it's at 3 meters. And there's the ground floor. All right. But yeah, you can do it in here, but it makes no logical sense. I mean, technically, it's actually doing the distance from here. But yeah, as I said, brilliant for these. Makes absolutely no sense to do it in plan. Okay. Anything else? No. Actually, no, there is. If you want to change how these numbers work, right, because at the moment they're millimeters, you already know this. Project preferences, working units, remember where we went into there? You'll also notice that it's got the dimensions in there as well. So this is where all of these are set up. So there's my heights, here's my distances, right? So I could say I want those in meters with 2 decimal places, etc., and go OK. And all of my dimensions change, except for the one that I overrid to say 1200. Actually, one point, that can say whatever you like. Would be more accurate, eh? All right. And we're going to see how we can actually save these in saved views as well. All right, another dimensioning tool. The level dimension. This is really cool when it comes to things like, let's say, slabs, right? Is this a slab? It is. Let's just elevate this one by 100. Cool, so here's my two slabs. Actually, I might just drag this guy. Cool, and elevate him another 100. Now, what I do is I just go to my level dimensioning tool, change my gravity to slab, and now I can go 0, 100, 200. And that works on a mesh as well. So if you wanted to create Daniel's grid system, you didn't actually have the data to begin with. So let's say, here we go, we've just got very simple mesh here. It's 0 at one end and it's 15 meters at the other. Let's make it a little bit more interesting. Cool. Go to my level dimensions. And in this case, I just go and do my snap to grid. Put that to mesh. And now I can just go snap, 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 snap. Cool. And that's doing all of my little spot heights, see? How easy is that? And now Daniel will be so happy with you. Hang on. Oh, I just turn my snapping off if I wanted to do it onto the corners. And I just want to turn this surface cover fill off just so I can see straight through it. See? I got 0, 0, 15, 12. So you can see we're going at a constant slope actually through there. So you can see that my 10 meter contour would go through there and through there. So those are just spot heights. And yeah, so easy, isn't it? And yeah, so it's just using the gravity and that spot height, the level dimension height. And again, it's got lots of different ways of doing it. Yeah, so you can have like little X's. Cool. In fact, if I just go select all, I can change all of them. What were he had kind of ones that looked like that, I believe, eh? And so you can recreate all those points. Yeah. So yeah, all I did is I've got 15 meters, 12 meters, and the other two are 0. But they aren't attached, though, unfortunately, unless they've changed something in the last couple of versions. Holy they did change. Yeah, but I've never seen it do that before, because it doesn't do that like to trees and stuff if you use it with the gravity. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, then I can just go through and start adding heights wherever I like. Ching. Pretty funky, eh? Oops. Select the mesh zone, go back to the mesh tool. Here's my mesh. Looks a little bit more extreme now, doesn't it? See, that's why you should always do some ground truthing. Yeah. And so, in theory, if I go and move this and shape it in 3D, all of those numbers should change in here as well, in theory. Oh, yeah, they have. See, 7, 7.5. Pretty funky, eh? All right. Anything else? Blah, 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 blah. And again, it's lots of stuff to do with the line types, colors, etc., etc. I'm assuming that, yeah, if it goes negative, that plus will change into a negative value. So for you guys, if you're doing it at 0 and it's dropping down, you're going to start seeing this go down. Obviously not enough. Still can't get it to go down enough. There we go. Minus number. All cool? All right. I think there's just a couple other dimensioning things. Again, pretty logical ones. We've got an angle. So we've got two walls. Okay, I can measure the angle between them just by going... I've got my snap grid on still. Click. Click. 41 degrees. If I went click, click, and then out here I'll do the angle around the outside. In fact, I'm surprised it didn't go all the way around. You can also go click, 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 click. Yeah, and it's going to do the angle like that. So it is actually snapping two objects. Okay, so I need an angle between two things. So if it's a line, so let's say I wanted to show maybe a wall that I can go angle, click, click, click. So that's the angle between this imaginary line through here and this. Why you'd do that, I have no idea. So generally it's just, click, click. Make sense? And radiuses, which are pretty obvious. Click, click. Notice as well, see that little X? It actually puts a little X in there. If you've got lots of radiuses and you don't want lots of little X's everywhere, you can turn that off. That's just that option there. So then you go click, and it doesn't show you the center point of the circle. Likewise, you can also have straight ones and ones like that. So just be clever with it. If you haven't got the space, you don't want text running over the top of other things. So you might have to angle it differently to squeeze it in there. And we've got lots of arrows and pointers and bits and pieces. All right, we'll have a little break. And we'll talk about saving views and layouts and all that sort of carry on. Yeah. Guys, I'm just going to go over saving views again, which you should already know how to do. And then we're going to look at layouts. All right. So if you remember, when we go and save a view, okay, so you flick over, so you've got to have the navigator up. If the navigator's disappeared, you can go Window, Palettes, Navigator, and it will bring it back. Okay, and we've got, hang on, I just want to make sure my audio is still working. Yeah, it is. So I'm going to save a view, right? Now, whatever you call the, oops, I'm doing a saved story. I don't want to save that. Save a view. Whatever you name the view, so by default it's going to call it ground floor, which maybe that's cool, but maybe it's not. Whatever you call it is what ends up automatically titled underneath it. So I'm going to call that, I don't know, courtyard, let's say. All right. And of course it's got things. Now remember, if you save a layer combination, so remember the layer combination, you can have like layers switched on and off and you can save a combination. That's quite a smart way of doing it, especially for sections and elevations. The reason is that means if you go and update the layer combination, it'll update all of your sections and elevations. So if you decide, I don't want dimensions on any of my sections, you just update the layer combination to not have dimensions on, and that would update everything. If you don't use it, you'll notice that it will say custom. In other words, there's layers switched on and off, and it's stored that, so that's cool. And I can update this later, and I'll show you how you do that later. The scale, blah, 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 the pen set. Notice as well, it's got, where is it? Dimensions. See, it says custom. That's because I went in there and actually changed it. But you can actually save like different sets of dimensioning. So, for example, if I change it to standard NZE, it'll all be in millimeters. If I wanted to save another view that was in US Architect, I would change it to feet and inches. But we'll come back and we'll update this as well. Zooming fit in window or current zoom. Actually, we'll just say fit in window for now, and I'll show you the difference later. Create. All right. So that means that now I can go, so we've got saved views here by default. And I can go back and here's my courtyard, and it switches everything back on again. And here's all of my layouts. Now, what I want you to do, for some reason you always have to have one layout at any point in time. I don't know why. If you try and delete all of them, it won't let you. I want to delete everything. I'm going to leave sheet index, right? Just going to delete them all. Okay. Sheet index, by the way, actually shows you all of the layouts that you have and what page they're on. So it's actually quite a nice little thing to have anyway. Kind of like a contents page, if you like. So I'm going to create a new layout. Okay, I'm going to call this plan. All right. Master layout. So that's these things here. Now how it works is the master layouts, you can think of them as like your stationery. And so that has a sheet size and a title block on it. Okay, and that appears on every single sheet. Just like if you had a letterhead that's got the company name on it, you go and put that into the photocopier, that's always on that piece of paper. So I'm just going to use one of the default ones that are in here at the moment. So A3 landscape sounds pretty cool. And that's about it. So go create. All right, so here's my layout. Okay, see it's got a title block on there. And all I do is I just go to my saved views here and I grab courtyard and drop it onto here. Plop. Now you can see that at 1 to 50, it ain't going to fit on there. Now, I'll show you the wrong way to do this. If I go into the settings for this, okay, or if I just go Command T, so I select it and go Command T, you can see here, it kind of looks familiar. It looks a little bit like when we went File Print. Remember when we had like a drawing scale and I said don't change it there? So I'm going to change it there anyway. So let's say we change this to 1 to 500 and go OK. And the reason I don't want to do that is you can see my dimensions have shrunk. So how should I do it? I'm just going to go undo, right? Two ways. I could either just drop it in there again, or if I go into here, so here's that saved view. I'm going to bring up the settings for it, and I'm going to change it there to 1 to 500. Hit OK, and it updates, and away I go. Sometimes, though, I've found, especially if you go and adjust the shape of this, so you can actually like crop things out here, which is quite convenient. I don't want to see that, so I can just crop them up. However, it's probably going to prove me wrong now. If you change the scale, so let's say I change it to 1 to 200, see, it kept the size of it. It didn't stretch back up again because I'd played around with it and kind of messed it up. If that happens, though, it's not a big deal. Just select it, delete it, and drop it back in again, and it works. All right. And so that's at 1 to 200. And you'll actually notice in here it should, if this one's actually got it, no, it doesn't actually have scale on there anyway. Yeah, I'll come back to that. All right, so what's quite cool with this is that, yeah, you can just crop things off, so I can just grab the edges here, and it just works like any other object. So if I actually just wanted to show this here, see, and see it says courtyard, so that came from the saved view. So if I change that to, mesh, it changes the name there as well. So it's like a trickle-on effect. All right. Let's just look at the settings in here again. There's a few other things. So you can actually overwrite the name, but again, a bit of a pain in the bum, because if I did what I did before and then delete it and then dropped it in again, I'd have to rename it again. So it's easier to change the name in the saved view. It's also got an update. So if I had a really complex thing, like a lot of the sections and elevations, I'll change that to a manual update. That just means that if I make changes, if it's on manual, right? So let's say I go to my 2D now and I go and plop a chair in here. If I go back to this plan, it doesn't update, okay? Because I've set it to a manual update. And what I'd have to do, if I select this, there's a little recycle button. If you hit that, it'll force it to update, and I should end up with a chair in there, although it's ended up underneath a number. Okay, so that's what the auto update is. That's going to be more relevant when we do a render, because I'm going to do a render in there as well. In fact, let's do that now. So, go into the 3D view, right? I'm going to line this up for, I don't know, let's say in here, right? All right. So this is the render that I want to do. I go Document, Creative Imaging, Photo Rendering Settings. I'm going to set this up to the size that I want it on my page. Okay, so I'm going to change this to centimeters. You've probably already realized if you change the size here and then you change the resolution, it changes your size, which is kind of annoying. So set the DPI first. Let's say I want 200 DPI, and I want this to be, let's say, 20 by, I don't know, 15 or something. Oops. Oh, 14. All right. Hit OK. So that is all ready to render. And I could, if I wanted to, go Document, Creative Imaging, Render, but I don't have to. All right, so we're now going to save this view. And when I save this view, it saves the rendering settings as well. All right. And I'm going to call this, I don't know, Courtyard. Excellent. Blah, 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 blah. Is there anything else I want to change? Scale doesn't matter because it's a perspective, so it should be grayed out, technically. It's also got a layer combination, all that sort of carry on, and a whole bunch of stuff in there that really make no sense for a 3D window. Now, see this here? It says Create in 3D Window. I'll leave it as that, and we'll change it in a second. We'll see why. So now I've got this little saved view, which means, of course, I can go, there's my generic perspective, and here's Courtyard. And if I go to my layout, I can grab Courtyard view and drop it onto my page. And there it is. However, oops, what the hell? Oh, I just dropped the chair on there. I'll delete that. I'm going to go to Courtyard again, okay? So this is the saved view, and go to the settings. This time I'm going to change the 3D window to photo rendering window and go OK, and drop that in there. And, ching, there's my rendered view. Now, there's a couple of things you want to change in here. Notice the title block says it's 1 to 1,000, which is bollocks. Command T, if I go and drop down into the title block, so you'll actually, and this is the same for all of them, you can change what the title block looks like. We'll do that shortly. But there's also in here, it says show drawing scale. We can just switch that off. Cool. We'll have a look at these, eh? Why not? CAD image basic drawing title. There's a really nice one. Is it this one? Framing title. Here we go. Just make sure that that drawing scale is switched off. Okay, cool. Notice, see, that's drawing 1, that's drawing 2 on this layout. Now, what's cool about this is actually set to auto-update. So if that means if I go in here and drop, some furniture around the place, next time I go into my plan, it just says updating, it's set to auto-update, and there's my chairs, all re-rendered. Pretty funky, eh? Now, if your model starts to get, it takes like 5 minutes to render, that's when you really want to set this to be a manual update. Because otherwise, every time you go and open up your page with 3 renders on it, it re-renders all 3 of them. And you have to wait for ages. And if you weren't, you don't care, you're just trying to lay things on the page or whatever, you definitely want to change that to a manual update. Yep, definitely. Yeah, so you just go Command T. You can set it to auto-update if you get to that point. Or you just go and hit the little refresh and it'll update them manually. So that little green. Yeah. Now, I'll show you just one little thing. Let's say I had rearranged this, right? So that was over there. My numbering's a bit illogical now. See, because this is drawing number 2 and that's drawing number 1, which is kind of silly. If you want to fix that, all you do is you just grab that and move it above. And now that's number 1 and that's number 2. Okay? So that's how the ordering gets done. All right. Okay, so basically it starts off with putting things on the correct layer, saving views, sticking them onto the layouts, and then finally we go to the publishing set. Now, for some stupid reason, I'm assuming it's doing the same thing it did last year. If I go publish, it doesn't work. Because for some reason, it's automatically trying to publish to the C drive, which doesn't exist. It shouldn't be there. I don't know why. The last couple of versions it's done that. So, what do I do? Well, I'm going to go to this document options, right? Actually, no, I'm not. See up here, it's got this show organizer. Okay, so it's in the top left-hand corner. This is pretty cool. What it does, it's exactly the same as the navigator, but there's 2. And you can actually see here's my layouts and my published sets, and here's all my the rest of the stuff in my document. So what I can do is I can actually say, okay, I'm going to create a new document. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to play with this one. So you can see at the moment it's creating a document called Untitled. So I can give this a name if I... Oh, no, that's because... Where is that named? Oh, that's because my file isn't saved. So the file's called Untitled. And if I go to the document options... No, sorry. What am I doing here? Oh, okay, sorry, I lie. Where it says all layouts to PDF, change it to publisher sets, right? So here's all of our... And we have lots and lots of different publisher sets. So if I go to the publishing properties, this is what should pop up by default, but it doesn't. I can say, right, I want you to save files to the desktop in a folder called for print. Excellent. So that means that it's going to publish everything into this folder. There's actually other options under there, so you can actually set one up to go directly to print. So you can actually have one that sends it to the printer. So it's going to all make a lot more sense in a second. Plot is an old school thing. We're using pen plotters, but we don't have pen plotters, so it doesn't matter. It's also going to create a folder structure, so I can actually create folders in here and it will automatically do it. Or I could just have all the files in one folder. So I'm going to say create a real folder structure. We'll come back to that. All right, all layouts to PDF, that's great. So if I double click on this now, it's going to create me a single PDF, so it says merged into one PDF, and that's going to have the sheet index and the plan. And what's really cool is I can actually grab things, like let's say that 3D render of the courtyard. I'm going to drop that in here as well, right, into this PDF if it lets me. No. Okay, it won't let me put it into there, but that doesn't matter. So it's going to also save out, I want it to save out a TIFF version of Courtyard. Cool? There's some options in there, you know, what colour it is and blah, blah, blah. So if it was a JPEG, you'd see like the JPEG compression. So let's do it as a JPEG then. All right, so that's all set up and ready to go. Now all I do is hit publish. And it goes through, it creates a sheet index, it creates a plan, it goes through and it renders that image. It saves that as a JPEG. Excellent. And I can close that now, and it's all done. And if I have a look on my desktop, here's that folder for print. Here's the Courtyard JPEG, all rendered out nicely. Oh, that's interesting, without the watermark as well. And here's a PDF, which for some reason hasn't updated that, but it's all right. And there's my layout, all ready to go. Now, once you've done it once, that's what I was saying, you can actually do this whenever you like in your project. That means that I can go into here now and start changing things. So let's say I'm going to add a whole bunch more chairs for some reason. And some more chairs in here, maybe a tree. Visualization, site improvements, garden. There's a pot plant and it's going right there. Another one there, another one there. Cool. All I do is, here in my navigator, just go publish. And it's going to go through now, re-render stuff, redo all my layouts, the whole lot, save it all to that folder and update it. Yep, does the whole lot, saving as a JPEG. Yep. Yeah, that's actually a little bit of a warning, because if you go and open up Courtyard and Photoshop it and save it, if you go publish, it's going to write over those changes. So just make sure if you do that, you save it as something else. And this one now has floating plants and floating chairs. And my layout has, oh, why didn't that update? Because it wasn't set to auto-update. Yeah, and there should be chairs in there, but obviously they've gone underneath the numbers again. So, oh, that was set to manual update as well, which, yeah, okay, that's cool, but yeah. See, so if I actually updated that, so I'm updating plan, and it's going to go through and re-render everything. So if it was set to auto-update, it would have done it automatically. I wouldn't even have to think about it. So auto-update is good and bad. Hit publish. Oh, that's interesting. It failed to export the plan for some reason. Possibly, yeah. It's probably due to that update. Or it was still rendering the image before I probably just did it too quickly. No, that's fine. Publish. Oh, it still failed on it. Oh, I know why. Because I've got the PDF open. Because I've got it open, it's going to save it, and it's going, oh, no, I can't save this because someone's got the file open. Which, again, fair enough. So, yeah, it's good that it actually, does it tell you what the error is? No. It'd be nice if it told you why it failed. There it goes, boom, 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 boom. Pretty cool. So you can have your entire document all set up, and away you go. No, much better. Okay. Let's just talk briefly about, let's just close that. These master documents, okay, because I want you to make your own master document. So what we do, see it's got the dark bit of paper down there? So when I click new, I'm setting up a new master document. So this is Zane's A3 landscape. Cool. And I'm going to make that A3 ISO. It's in metric, blah, 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 blah. This is the margins. So I'm going to make that 10, 10, 10. It's just a guide. That's that blue line there. That's about it, really. It's also got this auto arrange, which is pretty cool as well. You check this out and create that. So this time, I've still got this publisher here. Check this. This is so cool. What you can do is, if I grab, what was that? I think there's the elevation I did last time. If I just, oh, sorry, hang on. Create a new layout in here, right? Yeah, it's going to be called layout, and it's going to be using Zane's A3. Yeah, cool. Create. So there's my new layout. I can actually just grab things like courtyard. Whether or not it actually fits is another question. Now here's north elevation. Drop that into layout. It actually automatically places them onto the page. So I can actually just go through and just grab things and drop them on here, and it just, except for, of course, it's not fitting because I haven't got enough room on my page. That's all right, because I can just double click on here. Why can't I? Hello? It's freaking out for some reason. Layout. Why can't I select anything? It looks like my computer's screwed up. I can't click on anything. I'm going to click on splines. Yeah. Okay, I think I need to quit ArchiCAD and start it again. I can't select on anything. Yeah, but close that window. Close this 3D window. Got anything else open? Alright. Open up my layout. No. Save as. Blah. Anyway, so when we do our title block, anything we put onto that master document is going to appear on every single page. So that's where you want to put like your name and Unitech, Courtyard, Project, and all that sort of carry on. However, it's also got some really cool features where it's called auto text, which means I can do something like scale, and I can put some auto text in there that will fill in the scale for me. I can also put in things like the date it was printed, and it will automatically update the date. And it's got a whole bunch of other stuff. The following drawings have changed since their last update. That's because remember the auto update thing? So I can actually say, no, you better update them then. It'll actually update my my layouts. Okay, I can select them now. That was a bit weird, wasn't it? And again, I can crop these things and oops. So I can crop that side off and crop that side off. Cool. Which that's something you couldn't do in the last assignment. You couldn't crop the sides off. It just showed whatever was on the page. All right. So let's go to Zane's A3 landscape. And I'm going to draw a little box down here. So you've got like all the 2D tools, you'll notice. In fact, I think you'll even find some... I think there's some default title block templates in here somewhere. No. I lie. Okay, so I can go in here and draw a box, that sort of carry on. Okay, and I can get my text tool out. And make a little text block in there. So I can say, Unitech, project, assignment 1 or whatever, blah, 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 blah. I can do like date. See this little A up here? We've got things like, I think it's under system actually. There's the long, short, that sounds pretty cool. Yeah. Saved. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in there you can see. So you can use by, and that'll have your name in there. So if somebody opens up your document and makes changes and saves it, it'll actually, and went print, it'll say that so-and-so saved it, and you say, hang on, I didn't do that. Somebody else did it, and it'll automatically update that title, which is pretty cool. So if I open up your assignment and printed it out with a lot of mistakes in it, trying to pretend to be you, it will replace that. It's getting that from your login. There's also a whole bunch of other stuff in here, right? So for example, you'll notice it's got things like project and site details. Now you can imagine if you had like several title blocks, you might have like one for an A4 and one for an A1 and all sorts of other bits and pieces. What's an easier way of doing it is you go project name, right? And under file info, project info, it's got a whole bunch of variables in here, okay, including the project name. So if I said assignment 2, project number 2, status, in progress or something. You actually notice it'll have some defaults in here as well. Date of issue, etc., and you can put in bits and pieces, keywords, architect's name. See, it says there assignment 2 now, where I put in project. And I can do other things as well. So for example, so now I can say assignment 2 by, where was it? If you're struggling to find things, if you go all, it will show you every single auto text that you can do. So here's the architect's name. Cool. And it's going to put by Zane Eggington in there. And so instead of typing out my name every time, I can just go and put in the architect's name and it would insert it. So you could create your own title blocks and all that, save it out as a template, or you can grab these from another document. Remember we did that with the attribute manager, where you could grab things from another document. I could grab my master documents from another assignment. It'll have the title block there. I just update the project info. All of the title blocks will be updated.
How do you save a template?
Just go File, Save As, Template. Oh, can't do it from there because I'm in the middle of typing. File, Save As, Project Template. And so when you do that, so I'm going to put it into the Documents folder, right? When you go File, New, there's actually a place for it in the ArchiCAD folder. So if it's on your own computer, it's easier to put it there because you'll actually get a list of it. Oh, I've obviously done this before, have I? Blah template. So yeah, that's interesting actually because I didn't realise it did that. So yeah, you can save it wherever you like. You used to always have to go browse for template, which you might have to do if you'd saved it to your memory stick, and taken it home. And you go, oh, there's blah template. And so it'll start up. In this case, it's going to have stuff all over my 2D drawing and everything. But you can create templates so that it has all of your layers on it and all that sort of carry on. So if you wanted to, you could create a new document and go, the layers I used in Project 1 were awesome. I'm going to steal all those layers. The layouts that I did in Project 2 were great. I'll steal all those from that assignment and create yourself a blank document, if you like. And then save that as a template. And the next time you do assignment 3, you can just go, right, new project from my template, and it will pull in all the settings that you had, which is very convenient. Again, if you're in a drawing office, that would be the norm because you'd be doing lots of drawings all the time. And there's a very good chance they have their own company template so that everybody's using the same dimensioning setups and everything looks the same. And it's got the company logo on the layouts and blah, blah, blah. All right. So now you'll notice if I go out to this layout, it says down here, Unitech project, blah, 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 assignment 2. Oh, actually, I'll put something else in here because you'll notice it's got some stuff that's for the drawing itself. So if you go into that auto text, right, and it's got drawing, I can say the drawing ID, drawing name, so let's say drawing name, cool, and let's also put in there the scale. What's it got there? Original scale, or drawing scale, that's interesting, drawing scale, insert. All right. So now if I go to this layout, see, and here it's actually got multiple scales, so that's why it says courtyard, north elevation, east elevation, 1 to 1,000, 1 to 100. Okay, normally you wouldn't mix up scales in the same thing, although kind of annoying, but because it's got that that thing there, it's got the bloody scale on it, which sucks. I don't know why they do it. It should, maybe in the next version. There shouldn't be. Did I just change it? Oh. Turn something else off. Drawing ID. But it'll still say 1 to 1,000 in there because there's something in there 1 to 1,000, which is just dumb. I don't know why it does that, but anyway. You can also change. So, okay, that's got the wrong title block on it. So down here it says A3 landscape. I'm going to say no. Here's that title block. Cool. And again, it says 1 to 1,000 and 1 to 200. But it says also courtyard and mesh. So it's got the names of the drawings that are on there. So your title block can be very intelligent. And that's all going to update. If I go and add another drawing onto there, or if I delete one, no, I don't want that on there. Cool. Okay, it hasn't updated, but you'll find that if you go away from it and come back. Now it just says mesh 1 to 200. Pretty funky. Yeah, no. Yeah, it would be nice if it did that. But that's because I said put in the drawing title and put in the scale. But so the two different things. Yeah. But yeah, it would be nice. Maybe there is a way and I haven't discovered it, but I don't think so. No. But there's all sorts of things in here that. Wait a minute. Yeah, it'd be good if it did the drawing name and scale would be good, eh? Magnification. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff in there. What the current time is. Anyway. All right. And, of course, as soon as you go and... I might just change this to auto-update. So that one's auto-update anyway because I never changed it. That should be on auto-update. It's just a plan. Yeah, so I make my changes. Oh, now, that's right. I was going to show you a couple other little things. Okay, first thing I want to show you is, let's say, for example, that on this layout here, right, this 3D view that I had, it's too big. I want it to be smaller, and I want to change it to a sketch render, right? So what I do, if I go and load up this view, for one, it's going to do something kind of annoying. As soon as I double-click on Courtyard, it's going to open up the 3D view and instantly start rendering, because I saved it as a photo render window. You can stop it, of course. However, if I go to the Courtyard, right, let's have a look at the settings in here. Now, I can change whatever I like. Notice down here it says, though, redefine image settings with current. So what I do is, if I decided that all of my saved views, let's just do another one as well. Let's say there's another view from over here, right? Called blah one. All right, and I was playing around with this one, and I actually came up with a better idea in that I actually want it to be a sketch render and slightly smaller. So I want this to be 15 by 10. Cool. And go, okay. Cool. Now, I need to update blah and courtyard. So I just go into the settings and say redefine, and go, okay. Courtyard, settings, redefine, okay. So instantly, if I go and double click on courtyard, it's smaller for one, and it's a sketch render. So all you have to do is just click on it, don't double click on it, because if you double click on it, it's going to change the photo rendering settings to whatever was set. So I changed the photo rendering settings, selected the saved view, and said redefine it, and now it's a sketch render. Oh crap, it's gone and changed. Oh no, that's blah, sorry. That's alright. So courtyard should now be a sketch render from the same angle. But we can change that as well, which I'm going to do next. Chin. Maybe I shouldn't have done a sketch render. They take too bloody long to... Ah, that's interesting. Why is it saying... Oh, that's the name of the document. It has gone and... Okay. It's gone and changed the view of courtyard as well, which kind of sucks. It wasn't meant to. That's meant to be that. See, it actually says 3G produce. Oh, it has. Sorry. When I did that redefine, it also changed my my angle. Just hoping it wouldn't. Sorry, I got that wrong. Oh, and that should also be a photo rendering window. Okay. That kind of sucks though, because that means if I go edit, so if I edit that one, go settings. So I can't separate the two. I'm sure that that one there grabbed the view and that one grabbed the settings, but anyway. Oh, and that should be a photo rendering setting as well. Alright, so now if I go to my layout, that should get updated. So this is when you kind of want the manual update eventually, at least. And courtyard should now be a sketch render from approximately the same location. So you can double click on them, change the angle, change the print settings, and just update all the settings for it. Sweet. Oh, a little tip. See how it's cropped it? And the sketch render is classic for doing this, and it's got to do with this, the dimensions of this window. And the only way of really avoiding that is when you go and set up creative imaging photo rendering settings, you say keep proportions of 3D window. Cool, I'm just going to update courtyard. Cool. Then it fills it perfectly. But it's, for some reason, it's like, it looks at the proportions of the 3D window and it only uses that to do the image. So if you use the proportions of the 3D window when you're doing the size, it should fill that frame perfectly. It's kind of annoying how it does that, but anyway. Actually, just as a test, if I change the proportions of my 3D window now, does it screw it up? If it does, I'd be... So remember, I can just select it and go update. Oh, sorry. Select it there and go update. No, it's updating everything. Chin. No, see, it's fine. So it's kind of like it locks something in when you save that view, and it's all to do with the proportions of the 3D window. It used to always do it with the rendering as well, but they seem to have fixed that, but it still does it with the sketch. I always find it's a good idea to use that that proportions anyway, because then you can really see what's in shot and what isn't. You know, if I was doing a square render, my 3D windows like that, I don't really know what I'm going to see and what I'm not going to see. I could be seeing stuff outside of this box that I didn't want to show. So I always find it's a good idea to do that when you're setting up the sizes is to use that keep proportions of 3D window. All right. What other cool stuff can we be done in here? Okay, let's go back to the organizer, right? So let's go show organizer. I'm going to do a new publisher set, right? So we go to the publisher over here and go publisher sets. I'm going to go and create a new one. And I'll call this for web. This is supplementary information, okay? You don't have to do this for your assignment, but it is pretty friggin' cool. And what we do is we can drop, so I'm going to double click on for web. Oh, sorry, actually, I'll just go back. Publisher properties, say you are going to save to the desktop in a folder called for web. In actual fact, you can set this up that it'll upload the files. Does it still have that somewhere? It'll upload the files to the internet. Oh, actually, it doesn't have that. It used to have upload in here. Anyway, you just mount the web, if you've got like a web server, you could mount the web server onto the system. And you could upload the files directly or upload them manually, doesn't really matter. See this little thing here? It says include project reviewer for web environment. It's got a bunch of options in there. We'll have a look at that shortly. Give this the name of the project actually, so we'll just call this demo. If it was an internet website and you wanted this to be itself, you call it index.html, and that means that when someone goes to mysite.co.nz/assignment2, it would automatically open index.html. That's an internet programming convention. So I'm just going to call it demo.html and go, okay. All right. So I'm going to open up for web, and I can drop things in here, right? So let's drop in courtyard and blah one. Cool, and we want to save these as JPEGs. Yeah, that's a JPEG and that's a JPEG. But I'm also going to drop in my my mesh, right? And I'm not going to save it as a PDF. I'm going to save it as a thing called... Damn, I can't remember what it was meant to be called now. Oh, DWF. All right. And go publish. That'll do. So it's creating the courtyard JPEG and rendering that. I should have saved that as a photo render just to save time. And it's going to do the blah one and then render that off as well. Then it's going to... oh, it's had a problem. I wonder what that is. Double click on an item for the list of details. Oh, okay, it's been renamed. Because it's going to the internet, you shouldn't have a space in it because the file names will be a bit funny. So it's actually gone and renamed it to court_yard, which should be one word really anyway. But so it's not a big problem. It's just a warning, hence that. Okay, it's doing that one. Cool. It's probably renamed that one as well, I imagine. Yeah, blah one dot blah blah blah. Cool. Excellent. And it saved my project review. Now check this out. It creates an entire website for web, demo HTML, which will open up into Safari in this case. Virtual machine. Oh, okay, stupid bloody build. We'll open this with Chrome, will be fine. So, we'll try and edit that out of my video, eh? Okay, have I covered everything? I think so. Oh no, sun studies and the 3D walkthrough, fly-through thing. Okay, so let's go and have a look at a sun study of our little courtyard in here, right? So, if we go and pop down here, we'll see a little camera. And the camera is actually quite handy. If you knew that you stood in a particular place in this courtyard and you took a photo, what you can do is you can actually use this camera tool to stick the camera in exactly the same location. So we'll show you just how this works. So what you do is, that's where I am and that's where I'm looking. Okay? And what's cool is if you select that camera and hit F3, it takes you to that exact location. So that's where you'd say, oh, well, I stood there and I used my camera. And of course, if you bring up the settings for that camera, it's got a whole bunch of things about what the height of the camera is, the distance to the target. Now, the target's this guy here. Okay, so the way that works is if I'm standing here and I go and click on the door, the height of the target is going to dictate the angle. So if I click the target at my feet and set it to 0, I'll be looking straight down. If that's the same height, it doesn't matter where I click, I'm always looking level. So if I wanted to look at the base of these stairs, I'd put that target on the base of those stairs and I'd set the target to 0. Cool, and that means that I'm standing in one particular place looking at the base of those stairs. Looks like there's some weeds growing. Yeah, that's because, so the target's exactly where you're looking. Yeah, so that's the centre of my view. So if it's the same as your eye height, which is this one here, right, that means you're always going to be looking level, doesn't matter where you click. If it's 0, of course, and I go and click right in front of me, I'm looking straight down at the ground. Okay, if I wanted to look up at the second floor at this window, I'd set that to about 4,500 would probably get me there. Cool. I'm looking up at the second floor. All right. So they're quite handy. Now, let's just go. We'll set that back here a bit. Oh, I can also see these other lines here. That's your field of view. Okay, so I'm just going to move the camera right back here. And see this view cone? I'm going to set that to 90 degrees, which means that if I apply, I'm now looking at it with a view of 90 degrees. 60 is generally considered like what we see. Of course, we actually don't. We see a very narrow range, and then our peripheral vision fills it with just a blurry mess. And when you look around, you only ever see things that are in focus. So it's very debatable on what that angle should be. All right. So that's my view. Oh, I might just look down a bit more. So let's set that at about 2 meters. Would be cool. Looking lovely. All right. You'll actually notice that's it there because it's the untitled path. So I can also set up the sun like specific to that point. But I'm not really worried about that right now. Although I am very interested in where my project is. So I should be in Auckland at least. Okay. Sorry? Oh, this? That's the path. We'll get there. So, yeah, this is also the same way you create an animation. All right. So, I want to create a sun study from that location. So all I do is go to Document, Creative Imaging, Create Sun Study. Now, in actual fact, I don't even have to do that because whatever I have in the 3D view, I'm just kind of setting you up so that it's all very logical. Whatever view you have, though, it's a really good idea to do it from a camera because then you can recreate it, or a saved view. Create sun study. So I wanted to do it from the photo. Oh, hang on. I just want to change my photo rendering settings. So it's relatively small. I'm just going to do 800 by 600. Lightworks engine. Doesn't really matter about the DPI because I'm not going to print this. Although if I did, it would. That's about it, really. See, so if I was to print this at 200 DPI, it would be 10 centimetres by 5 centimetres. Okay, remember these numbers are all linked. Okay, cool. In fact, I'm going to save this as a saved view, just so I can recreate it easily. So I'm going to call this sun study location 1. Okay, and so it's going to save everything. I don't have to change it to a photo rendering window. However, it will save those settings that I've just created. So it's just a good practice. Creative imaging, create sun study, photo rendering window. The date is January the 20th. Cool. Sunrise to sunset. That's great. The only time you'd want to change that really is if you're trying, because what we can do, we can make a movie, which is what you guys are going to do, but we could also get it to export a whole bunch of JPEGs or TIFFs or whatever. And so if you wanted to compare summer to winter, you'd want the same time span. So you'd want it to start at 6 and finish at 6, or longer. But we're just going to do sunrise to sunset. We're going to save it as a QuickTime file. There's all sorts of other things we can do as well. But we just want a QuickTime movie. The compression, okay, you just want to write this down. We're going to change it to MPEG-4. And we'll say 25 frames a second is what we use on TV. 24 is film. Unless it's The Hobbit, then it's 50. So I'm going to go 15 frames a second, which will look relatively smooth. Okay, and we're going to set the compression to high. Keyframe just means that, well, I don't want to go there. If you do FilmCAD, you'll learn all about that. All right. Now, it's going to do an image every 30 minutes. Okay, so, which means my movie is going to go pretty damn quickly, actually. But that's all right. So I've got 30 frames, and at 15 frames a second means my movie's going to last 2 seconds. Cool? If I reduce that, you'll see that this number goes up. Okay? All right. Am I all happy with that? I think so. Cool. Save. Where do I want to save this? It's called Sun Study 1. It's going to go to my desktop. Save. All right. And now you go and have a cup of coffee. And it's going through and it's rendering an image, moving the sun, rendering an image, moving the sun, rendering the image, etc., etc. I should have had a ground plane. I'm floating in space. So it's not going to look very impressive, actually. I'll probably just see the shadows on the walls moving, and that's about it. That was pretty dumb. Yeah. So you can see the shadow on the wall on the left-hand side moving. But yeah, that's all right. Because I saved the location of my sun study, remember you can recreate this quite easy because I just double-click on that and then redo the sun study. Yeah.
So if you change the actual document, like if you decide to took out those chairs and tables instead, would it go and update this, or would you have to rerun the sun study?
In this case, I'd have to rerun the sun study. Everything else it would automatically update, but the sun study, because it's exporting a movie, it's kind of very manual. All right, now on my desktop, I should have a little movie there called No, was it Sun Study? Oh, sorry, desktop. Sun Study 1. Make sure you don't make this file too big. There you go, there's my shadows moving. Okay, a little bit weird because I've got light coming straight through my window, but I don't believe there's a way to publish a sun study. I could be wrong. Yeah, now we've got a ground plane in there. Let's just see. No, there's no way of publishing a sun study, unfortunately. But I can quickly get back to my sun study location. There's my floor. Creative imaging, create sun study. Yeah, photo rendering window, blah, 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 blah. This time, actually, I'm going to do a whole bunch of JPEG images. And what else? Yeah, I was going to do a whole bunch of JPEG images, and This works really good with InDesign because I can link InDesign to the images and I could update my Sun study, and InDesign will be linked to the images and update them. I can do it in here, but it's just a bit cumbersome. So I can go JPEGs, right, save. This time I can create a folder called Sun Study. Yeah. Yeah. So this is great for if you're doing, you want to put on your A1 layout a Sun study, because obviously sticking a movie on your A1 layout doesn't really work. Yeah. So you could, you can just have like a bunch of little thumbnails just sort of showing what the shadows look like. Yeah, how your pergola or your pergola, depending on where you're from, drops lovely shadows all over your courtyard. This could also be a sketch render as well, but obviously you'll have to have a long lunch. But the big one, especially for the movie, is don't go and set it. Make sure you go and change the settings. It's still not set to like an A3 at 300 dpi, because you'll end up with this giant movie that's larger than your screen. So you need to make it much smaller for the movie. Basically, get the 3D window about the right size and go set to the same size as my 3D window, and bang, you'll produce a movie that's the same size. It's by far the easiest way to do it.
It's not smart to do the sketch render, to do your Sun study in sketch.
It looks awesome. It just takes a little while.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah. It looks friggin', awesome. So this time, I've got Sun Study, and here's all the JPEGs, 29 of them. Cool. You can see my JPEG compression was far too high as well because I didn't change it. You can see it's got a lot of ugly JPEG artifacts. So I would have saved it as a TIFF, and then there'd be no compression on it.
Okay, so to make it TIFF distance,
Yeah, because see, in InDesign, I can just grab all of those and just go blop, 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 blop. Yeah. In fact, in InDesign, if you create a frame, then you can use the step and repeat. So you could create 30 of them, which is basically the same as ArchiCAD's multiply. So you create a whole bunch of frames, then you go import, was it Command D to place the image? You select all of the images and you just click on each frame, and it just puts all the images in each one of the frames. It's really nice. Yeah. Well, if we can, in the next couple of weeks, I'll try and do a little session on InDesign or something. Because, cover it. Yeah, it's a bummer it got dropped, actually. That's a good point, actually, because the JPEGs don't, but the movie does. So if you notice that the movie... Oh, sorry. Oh, that's interesting. Hang on. If I go open with QuickTime 7... No, QuickTime 7. There's actually a layer in the document. It used to have an overlay on it. Yeah, because it used to put it in the top corner. Hang on, show movie inspect. But see, the new QuickTime sucks. It's got like very little settings and everything. There used to be a layer that had the time on it. There's nothing. Yeah, but you used to put it in the corner of the document. Unless if they changed it or something, it's not. I didn't see an option for it. It never used to be an option. Yeah. But yeah, you can see it's easier if you actually said from 5 to, say 8, at 30-minute intervals, then you'll know that it's 5, 5:30, 6, 6:37. And you'd want to do that if you're comparing summer to winter as well, because otherwise they won't line up. You'll have less photos in the winter than you would in the summer. Yeah, and it's quite nice to show. Here it is in summer, and here's all these black frames. But I mean, if you had lamps in there, the lamps would be illuminating everything. So. You could do, but yeah, possibly. But I mean, that's up to yourself, really. I mean, as soon as you lay it out, you could just write from 5 a.m. till 6 p.m. half-hour intervals or something like that, you know. All right. Oops, hang on. Now, doing the so that's how we can place the camera. If I'm going to go back into these settings, right? I'm going to go back into the camera settings. Now, I'm actually going to create a new path, only because I like to keep, and you can do this many times as you like. So I go new path, I'm going to call this my fly-through 1. Cool. And all I do now is I just start drawing cameras. So I'm going to start off quite wide, maybe out here somewhere. I just double-clicked on that and said new. Gave it a name. Oi! Thank you. Okay, so, and you just keep going through and just click, click. So this is where the camera is, where it's looking. So then I'm going to start straightening up a little bit. Cool, and I'm going to finish like that. Yeah, that's the in-between frames. So let's have a look at this. So what's happening is, if I just click on this path, it's creating a Bezier curve between each camera position, and in between each camera, it's going to put another 10 cameras. Okay? So this is called keyframe animation, and you'll see this in lots of, any program that can do video or animation or whatever will nearly always use keyframe animation, where you're setting some variables, so in this case the camera location, and then it's animating everything in between. So in this case, it's creating this nice smooth camera path going from this point through to this point. Now, what we can also do here, right, I can actually see the settings for every single camera. So you can see camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, etc., etc. So I could start off, let's say camera 1's looking level, but let's say maybe camera 2 looks at 1500, camera 3 looks at 1 meter, cool. Camera 4 looks back up all of a sudden for some reason. Camera 5 looks right up into the air at 2.5 meters, okay. And maybe the camera gets a little bit lower as well. It drops down slightly. Yeah, I can actually go through, and then for some reason I start widening my lens. Whoops, not that much. Okay, so excellent. Okay, and then that final shot, I get this really weird wide-angle lens that's looking up at 3 meters. Cool. All done. Now, we do exactly the same thing we did before. Camera, but this time I'm going to go camera, document, creative imaging, create, fly-through. And now, what I quite often do is I'll do the 3D window first, just to see if I'm going too fast or too slow or looking in the right place, etc., etc. So I'm going to set that to 3D window. I should actually make sure. I don't think my 3D window was very big, but anyway. Actually, I was going to cancel. Oops, keep doing that. There's my 3D window, F3. I was going to make the 3D window a bit smaller, otherwise it was a giant view. I can actually go, I mean, if I click on any of those cameras, I'll be able to see the view from it. Why do I keep doing that? Document, creative imaging, create fly-through. So I'm just going to do the 3D window for now. Obviously, you guys want to do the photo render one. We'll do that one first. Yeah, we want the in-between frames, so that's going to do a whole bunch, which will equal 61 frames. So that means that my entire movie as a QuickTime movie is MPEG 4, 15 frames per second at high quality. Cool. So that means that if I'm doing 15 frames, it's going to take about 4 seconds. Save. Blah movie 1. So this is why you want to do it as a 3D window first, because it renders really fast. And you'll be able to get a good idea of how your camera is moving through the scene. So remember, we're looking up and looking down occasionally. The camera's moving about. We should eventually see it go into a big wide-angle shot, which should look kind of a bit Hitchcock-like. All right, and if we go to our desktop now, we should see blah 1 mov. Here it is. Awesome. It's a little bit mechanical, but... And there's a good fix for that, actually. See, it's kind of going dig, 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 dig. There's actually a setting to change that, and it's got to do with, if we go to that path, see the target, it says polygon, which means that where it's looking is like changing like a very mechanically. If we say smooth, it'll smooth up the motion of the target as well. If I said closed, it'll loop back around to the first position. So, which would be quite cool if maybe you go around your entire site, and so you want the first camera position to be the last camera position. So you could loop the movie and it'll just go round and round and round and round and round and be seamless.
How about the time frame? Will it be the same?
Yeah. So, and it will. So, yeah, all I do is go, to a certain point. Wherever I stop, it's going to make the last one the first one, and it'll put the in-between frames in as well.
Will this do the 4 segments?
Good question, actually. No, it would have another 10 frames. So it'll be slightly longer because of that extra bit.
Like
Yeah.
close is what we choose, or open is what we choose?
So that's up to you. It depends if you want to go and do a full circuit. Because you can set the movie then on loop, and you can put it on a display and the camera just goes constantly around your site until... Yeah, my one, we'll do it. Why not? Just show. So, because what's going to happen is it's going to go to there and it's going to go zip, back to there. And it's going to do it very fast. Fly through one. Okay, cool. Creative imaging. Where are we? Photo, create fly through. Cool. 3D window. Yeah, see, we've got an extra 10 frames. Blah, 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 blah. The only time that rebuild for each frame would be if you had some kind of amazing object that was somehow animatable. I haven't come across one. So I haven't come across one that does it, but then, because I'd have to rebuild the model to update the position. Like sometimes when you change an object, it does, you have to hit rebuild or you have to open up the 3D window again.
So you were walking in one direction and it was flying through as well?
Oh, yeah.
Had a little animation going.
Yeah, a lot of the time you do this sort of stuff in another program, which is what we'll do in FilmCAD, is we'll put this model into view and basically do the same sort of thing, but then you can animate everything. Textures, materials, objects moving around the camera, a whole lot. And they're becoming very popular. All right. So again, I'm just going to do the 3D window just to see what our motion's like. So it should be a lot smoother now. I'm going to call this blah 2. Because remember, I smoothed the target as well, so I shouldn't get that mechanical feeling. Sometimes you might want a mechanical feeling, it's like, here I am going down the conveyor belt in my factory, and you want it to go along and then change directions suddenly. Whoa! All right, so here's blah 2 movie. And actually, if I go into the movie view, I can say loop, then the movie will loop. Did I specify a time? I think I did. Did it say 10 camera locations or something? I can't remember now. To be honest, I don't really care. As long as it's more than one camera location. Yeah, you can see through my windows and see the stairs floating out there. All right. And so then eventually I'd want to do my photo rendered window. But yeah, I highly recommend you do the you do the 3D window first, just to make sure the camera's moving first. Because otherwise you set it off, it takes hours to do the render, and you've realised that you just flew straight through a wall and did some sort of backwards somersault. And
So does it take hours to do the render?
well, however long it takes to do one frame, times that by how many frames you've got. So if it takes 1 minute to do an entire frame, you've got 70 frames, it's going to take 70 minutes to do the whole thing. But you'll find though, it's, although, in saying that, we're going to show the movies in class, so I don't mind if you run out of time, just do it at the last second. I'm not too fussed about it. You should find though, I mean, the only time that you'd lead yourself into disaster is if you did like a sketch render at AO size, and then you use those settings to create your fly through, and so you just got to be smart about it. But as I said, the easiest way to do it is if you go to the 3D window, go, right, I want my movie to be, widescreen like that. You go creative image, photo rendering settings, Lightworks, size to 3D window. And so now you know exactly how big your movie is going to show up. And I mean, you could change some of these settings. Anti-aliasing will have a bit of an effect on it. If you've got lights in there and you're not using them, just switch them off. That will speed up your rendering time. Blah, 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 blah. And again, it's a good idea just to save, for fly-through, because that will save all your settings that you did when you did the fly-through.
So you save the view from where you started it or the whole thing?
Oh, no, just to save, just at any point. But I've set up all my 3D render settings, it's like, what the size of the 3D window was and all that sort of stuff. So that means if I want to reload those settings, I just double-click on fly-through and I've got all the same camera settings. Because otherwise, if I went to, like, Courtyard, and then I went create fly-through, it's going to be using the wrong settings. It's going to be using a sketch renderer, because that's what it was on. So it's like, I've got to redo my fly-through. If I just double-click on that now, it's going to set this all up to be the Lightworks rendering engine, the lamp switched off and that sort of carry on. So it's just a nice way of just saving those settings. And now, those saved views, you should be using it so much. It's so handy. Yeah, especially if you're finding that you're constantly switching layers on and off and constantly changing scales and this and that and the other thing. So do it once, save the view. Where? Create fly-through. Oh, okay. I've got to just change it to my fly-through path. There we go. Document, creative imaging, create fly-through. Actually, I'll just talk about that again. If you make a mess of it, it's like, okay, I did that fly-through, I don't really like it. Don't be afraid to just go, okay, let's do a new one called, number 2. And you can have another crack at it. Oops, make sure you're on the camera tool zone. See, it's got the So it's a closed path. It's showing me how it's going to loop around. And what's cool is you can go, don't like that one, let's go to this one again. That's the one I like. Cool. Check the photo rendering settings. They are about right. Yeah, that's cool. Excellent. It's not the sketch render or anything crazy. Fly through. Blah, 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 blah. Photo rendering window this time. All frames. Yep, cool. QuickTime. What's my compression? We want MPEG 4. 15 frames. Yep, that's great. Okay, if I wanted to slow this down, I could change this to 10 frames a second. It would make it slower, but then it would get a bit jerky. Or I could go into, so I'll just cancel that for a second, the path and say, actually, put 15 frames in between each. That means that each camera location equals 1 second. So that means that this would be, how many cameras have I got? That'll be 7 seconds of animation. Cool. Nice and simple, eh? Document, create fly through. Cool. So now I've got 105 images. And we've done everything for the class, I believe. Yep. So I'm going to let that go. Go for the photo rendering windows. Save. Never call it final, because you're just setting yourself up for disaster. Never call it final render, because you can always guarantee that means that you'll make a mistake and you're going to have to do final render 2 and final render. Yeah, really, this is the final render. I usually end up with ones called bloody work.mov.
Shows how to, now there's a default template for putting in details on the side.
Yep.
Can you take that one and duplicate it and adjust it to make it yours?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's actually.
That looks quite like that one compared to just creating a text box down there.
Yeah, it's actually a little bit fun. Actually, in fact, I can see it here. See, it says here title blocks. It says TO1 title.
Yeah.
If you double click on that, you can you'll actually see their title block. So yeah, they've actually saved it as a drawing. It used to, yeah, because they changed it slightly in the last couple of versions. Yeah, and in fact, that's where you can if you did you get like the quantity surveying stuff. You know, it's like calculates all sorts of stuff. You can save that as a view and drop that onto one of your layouts. So, and that's essentially what those things are as well. Blah, blah, blah. Do I let that go through? I'm going to stop it. Well, yeah, so if we go into here, see there's the title block, and you can edit everything in there, or steal it and edit it and that sort of carry on.
So you're looking under.
That's actually just in the project view.
Right.
So you can actually see here's all these different things. See, so here's that's where that list comes from. So all of these are like separate drawings. So you can actually edit all of these things. Crazy, eh? See, and there's the saved view of it. This is the saved view of the title block. And so then what they're doing is they're putting that title block onto here. And see if I expand this out. See, there's TO1 title.
So you can go into it and alter it and change it all.
Yeah, or I could go through and duplicate it or something. Can I copy it? Or just steal the whole thing? Oh, sorry, hang on. So I could steal that whole thing, go copy. I'd be a bit lazy and just go straight to my...
Can you save that into your library?
No. Oh, I don't know. No, but you could steal it from another drawing because... Yeah, you should be able to see. If I opened up another document. Good questions. Excellent. I like good questions that challenge me. Can you? So that's pin sets, layer combinations. No, actually, that's a good point. No, you'd actually have to. You could import it, I suppose. Well, how would you do it? No, but if you saved, hang on, because if you created it and put it onto a layout, then you could import the layout because it's got the. That's a good point. Where are the layouts? Because if I have a layout, no, I think you'd actually have to copy and paste it. But yeah, if you saved it as a template, so if you set one up and you saved your new title block as a template, then you could create new documents from that template. Yeah, well, because it saves all of everything, basically. It saves in a template, so then you can create a new document from that template. Otherwise, you'd have to go in and copy the contents out. But no, that's a good. Yeah, but actually that's a good point because I'm sure you could. Master layout settings. That's a good question, actually. How would you import a layout that was already in another document? Don't know. Actually, one thing I will say about this, though, is you can set it up so that if you're using like InDesign as your for doing your layouts, which I normally do, you can still use this, but you'd use it so that it exports all of the images that you're going to be placing. So instead of, you could do a layout and then it publishes it, or you could just get it to spit out the plan as a PDF. And so what you do is you set it all up, so it's just spitting all your plans and your renders and all that out as PDFs or TIFFs or whatever it is. Then you go into InDesign and you place those images. So, yeah, exactly. And so then client asks for you to move the tree. You move the tree, you hit publish, you open up InDesign, you go print. You don't have to import or change anything because it's all linked. All of those files will get updated, so therefore all of your outputs get updated. If you're doing something like some Photoshop work, just make sure that you have your background image is not being changed and you're doing everything on top of it. So that way, if you move the tree, you open up your Photoshop document, you replace the background image with your new background image, save it, and away you go. So it's a little bit cumbersome, but it's. Yeah, you don't want to be like having to re-Photoshop the entire document because you've corrupted it, or you destroyed it.